Hello, hello everyone. I'm happy to be here at the Azure Nigeria Community Conference 2022. Thank you for having me. My name is Oluwatosin Anishere. I am from Nigeria, based in Dublin, Ireland. I work at Botnet as a modern workplace consultant. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. I'm a mentor at Textilers Community, a volunteer at Connecting Women in Tech here in Ireland, and also a leader at the Azure Nigeria Community. I'm an experienced consultant across the infrastructure stack. I specialize in architecting and administering identity, security, and governance solutions, as well as in Azure and also Microsoft 365. Okay, so that's basically about me. And today I'll be talking about the Azure DDoS protection. Okay, without wasting much time, let's look at the agenda for today. So the agenda for today, we'll be talking about what is DDoS attack, the difference between DDoS as well as DOS, or you can call it DDoS as well as DOS. We're going to look at DDoS botnets. We're going to look at the common types of DDoS attacks. We're going to look at the attacker's motivation, and we're going to see how to stop this DDoS attack, meaning we'll talk about the Azure DDoS protection. We'll also go further to talk about the Azure DDoS protection tiers, as well as pricing. Then I end it with a demo. Hopefully, I get to cover all of this in the stipulated time given to me. So let's start. What is DDoS, or what is DDoS? However you want to call the acronym, it is fine. So DDoS is an acronym for Distributed Denial of Service. And basically, this is a subclass of denial of service, which is where we're going to be understanding the difference between both. Now, the aim of this DDoS is just to overwhelm resources that is on your application, or maybe overwhelm servers, making it very slow as well as unresponsive, such that authorized users will not be able to have access to it. Now, let me give you a scenario or an example. Let's talk about the e-commerce sites. Now, for the e-commerce sites, of course, the ideal way is, there's traffic, people get to do one or two things, do transaction, do some buyings and all. Now, when there is a DDoS attack or DOS attack, what happens is there'll be so much traffic. It's either it makes that site very slow, or it makes that site, unresponsive to genuine customers that want to access that site. It frustrates them really, or sometimes it just makes it totally down. So this way, the DDoS attack will usually target any public facing endpoint that can be accessed through the internet. That's what it does. Now, of course, this DDoS is not new. The IT industry has just, they've seen like a steady increase of the distributed denial of service. Years ago, it wasn't perceived to be anything. It's perceived to be something like, okay, this is what novice attackers use, or they do it for fun, but unfortunately, at this time that we are speaking, that's not the case, because DDoS attacks are now very sophisticated. They use sophisticated activity in many cases, and they try to target big businesses. So it's really a cyber crime. All right, let's move on and let's see what's the difference between DDoS as well as DOS attack. That's the DOS and the denial of service and the distributed denial of service. Now, I will say the key difference between these two is the fact that the DDoS uses multiple internet connections to put victims' computer network offline or make it unresponsive, okay? While that of DOS uses a single connection, and you can see that well illustrated in my slide here on the screen. You have the attacker, just a single connection, use it to, the attacker uses that. But for DDoS, it's multiple attack from multiple locations, and it's important to note that these DDoS attacks are executed differently, so to say. The DDoS attack are executed either through the use of botnets, which I'm still going to talk about, or network or devices under the control of the attacker. So DDoS would generally launch to, DOS on the other hand, would launch through maybe a script or maybe a DOS tool, but DDoS, no, it uses specifically a botnet. And I would say the victim's PC in terms of DOS is loaded from the packet of data just from a single location. I think I've mentioned that before. While for DDoS, the packet of data is sent from multiple locations. And because of that, it's usually not easy to, find DDoS. And for DDoS, it's even faster, when the attack is usually faster because it's coming from multiple, different locations and all. So that's DOS and DDoS. Now let's talk about botnet, because I mentioned that in the previous slide. Now for botnet, what do we mean by botnet? Now, botnet is the collections of, should I say, hijacked devices or hijacked connected devices for the purpose of cyber attack. They are controlled remotely by these attackers using the control center or command center. Now, these include, hijacking either your personal computer or hijacking mobile devices or all those unsecured IoT devices. That's what it hijacks, and it turns them into a zombie in order to be able to attack this victim server. Now, let me illustrate what I meant quickly. Permit me to bring up my Microsoft whiteboard. Okay, so let's assume I have, here my attacker. And now this attacker, like I said, they usually initiate their attack from the control server. Okay, let me try and draw that. So let's assume this is our control server. Now they hijack different devices, like I said, unsecured IoTs, mobile devices, PC, and all of them. Now each of those, we can refer to them as bots. All of this is a bot, and this is another bot, and this is another bot. Now this can come from different locations. Now everything here, all these collections of bots, we refer to them as botnet. Now, the essence of this is, now I'm illustrating a DDoS, please, because you can see the multiple, attacks that are coming from the botnet. Now, all of these attacks basically is just to attack maybe an organization server or a victim server. So all of this right here are the botnet. Let me label it so that it makes clearer sense. So this is the attacker. Sorry. Have this, the attacker. Now this here, like I said, is the control server. Can call it that. Okay, and like I said, this right here are the botnets. And lastly, this is the victim's computer or victim's server. Okay, so this basically will give us a clear, idea about the denial of service. So this exactly is their control server. You can call it command and control center. You can call it control server, but basically that's where they launch this attack. They've turned all of those hijacked systems into zombies, and those are what we refer to as botnets. I hope this is actually clear. So let's move on to talk about the common types of DDoS attack. Now we have different types of DDoS attack, and this basically they range from those that crash the services to those that flood the services. Now, I would say the common type of DDoS attack is categorized into three. We have, just like you can see on the screen, we have the volume-based attack. We have the network-based attack or protocol attack, and we have the application layer attack. Now, let me start with the application layer attack. Now, this attack, I would say, is targeted toward web application packets. The essence of that is going to disrupt the transmission of data between hosts. That's what the attack is. You can also call it a resource, layer attack. But basically, I think it uses application layer attack. Now, the next one, which is the protocol attack, this one right here, what it does is it will render the target, the organization's either server or whatever, server specifically. It targets that and exhausts that server with false protocol requests. Okay, that way this the attack is measured in packet, yes, but it's the essence of that is usually goes for the layer 3, like the network layer, the transport protocol. That's what it does. And the last but not the least, which yes, it's also very common, is the volume based attack. Now, what that does is it floods your network with something that looks like a legitimate traffic. You think, okay, this is actual traffic. Imagine like the e-commerce scenario that I gave us. You would think, oh, people are on my site. It's Jumia Black Friday, or it's Kunga or something. And you think, okay, basically people are on the site. It might look genuine, okay, but it isn't. It just overwhelms the availability of that boundary such that people are unable, to get to that site. So these are the common, attacks, DDoS attacks that we have. Now, let's move on. What motivates attacker, to do this? So we have attackers' motivation. And when they carry out this DDoS attack, we have a word for that. The word is referred to as DDoSing, okay? DDoSing is just describe that act of carrying out a DDoS attack. And mostly attackers are the one that does DDoSing. Basically, what do they do this for? Why do they launch this attack? It could be for the purpose of, activism or activists. The activists use DDoS attack. It's a way of just expressing their criticism over something. It could be to the government. It could be to politicians. It could even be to big business organization. And I'm sure some of us could relate. There's a popular one which we activists, which are the Anonymous. Now these Anonymous are best known activist group, and yes, they are I think for fact they are responsible for cyber attack in February 2015, if I'm not mistaken, against ISIS. And also, if some of us in Nigeria can remember the NSAS event that happened in 2020, the official central bank of Nigeria was under attack by the Anonymous. Now, what they were expressing is this criticism against, the NSAS, or should I say support for the NSAS, that they were facing the government, in support of that. So that's a typical, that action or that event from the Anonymous is a typical example of the motivation for attackers. So not only activism, we also have cyber vandalism. That one is, I wouldn't want to say it's light, but it's kind of things that are common among students or teenagers. I could say both teenagers, but I would really, yeah, both smart teenagers, because these are the people that probably just seeking revenge, or they want to vent their anger or frustration on something, or maybe the school, and all. And as a result, they could do that. Sometimes it's just to get an attention, but it's also a motivation for DDoS attack. And of course, another one is extortion. Extortion is common. This motivation comes as a result of demand for money. It's, of course, it's a cyber criminal demanding for money in exchange to stopping a particular activity or crippling services or site or things like that. And some of these big software companies has actually fallen into this category of extortion with DDoS. Then we also have the business competition. That's also a motivation in a situation whereby this organization, a particular organization, is preventing its own competitor and all. So they can have assaults designed to keep that competitor from, competing. That's a typical motivation as well. We have the cyber warfare. Now, for cyber warfare, I would say specifically targeted towards governments, if I can permit me to say that, because they use it to silence government criticism, as well as even financial institute or else, So that's for cyber warfare. And the last but not the least that I have here on my list, on the slide, is personal rivalry. Now, personal rivalry is, okay, you and I have a cause to settle, and as a result of that, I can launch DDoS. It could be maybe a multiplayer online gamers, for those of us that participate well in online gaming and all. So it may even be, they can just target the gaming server and all. So those are personal rivalry. So these are basically the motivations of attackers for them to launch this DDoS attack. But how do we stop it? And we are going to find out in the next slide. So how do we stop DDoS attack? Basically, we have, we are talking about Azure DDoS protection. So we can use the Azure DDoS protection to stop DDoS attack, because the Azure DDoS protection service is designed to help protect your applications and servers by analyzing the network traffic and discarding anything that looks like the DDoS attack that I've explained in the previous slide. So this protection would enable you to protect your Azure resources. That's the summary of this. Now, it comes with features like always on monitoring, then automatic network attack mitigation, because when it comes to Azure DDoS protection, there is always a detection and a mitigation. Okay, so with that, there's this automatic network attack mitigation with it. Now, from the diagram that you can see on the screen, it's just talking about the Azure DDoS protection. Now, from here, you would see that the Azure DDoS protection basically will identify an attacker's attempt that is trying to overwhelm the network. Now, this service will block traffic from the attacker, ensuring that it doesn't reach the Azure resource, and it allows legitimate users or genuine users to be able to access the service. In essence, it's going to stop any interruption of service. That's what this protection does. Now, you might, it's well to know that the frequency of attack is growing every day. The volume of attack is growing every day. And for your services that you have on Azure, just one specific attack can impact greatly on the availability of your service, whatever application is running on Azure, as long as it's receiving traffic from the public IP or public internet. Of course, it's prone to attack. That's why you need this Azure DDoS protection. It's necessary. Now, you might be thinking, what if I have a front door, okay, or backend? Do I still need the Azure DDoS protection? Well, I would say let's look at it in this scenario. Let's assume you are deploying, and probably you're deploying a backend application, and a virtual network. Basically, your virtual network are usually exposed. They expose this application. So this application that you're deploying could even be a load balancer, and it could even be an application gateway. Now, whichever one it is, the application, the way it works, it will receive traffic from the front end or the public IP on its own IP. And what that tells us is that the public IP of this particular maybe application gateway in the VNet is still exposed to the internet. What that means is that it's still prone to DDoS attack. So what's the that's why I would say for anyone here that in their environment they have this, they should try and get the Azure DDoS protection, because that basically is going to give you a full protection. And the interesting thing about the Azure DDoS protection is you can use it, it spans the entire tenant. Regardless of the number of subscriptions in your tenant, you can use a single, DDoS for that. Okay, so that's it. So you can, we have the tiers, the DDoS protection tiers, and that's I'll be talking about in this next slide. So we have basically two protection tiers. That's the basic and the standard. Those are the two that we have, basic and standard. Now, from what you can see on the screen, the basic is usually automatically enabled for every property in Azure. It does not require cost, which means Microsoft is not going to charge you for that. And you have your always on traffic that is monitoring, these applications, and you have this real-time mitigation of, common network layer of defense. So it does those basic things, and Microsoft is doing so well when it comes to security. Now, for the standard will give you more, and that's why on the screen here you would see that for the features within the DDoS, the likes of Azure traffic monitoring and always on, whether you're using basic or you're using standard, it's enabled or it's available for you. Now, automatic attack mitigation, both of them offer that, both basic, that is free, and the standard that you have to pay for. But if you look at the screen very well, you realize that there are some features that are not available in basic but are in standard. And for this reason, if you need such protection, maybe you want to get metrics and alerts, you want to get mitigation report, you want to get mitigation flow log or mitigation policy, want to set customization. Now, what you would need to do is you need to go for the DDoS protection standard plan. And of course, when it comes to this, you have to take a look at the pricing. Okay, so because the DDoS protection plan has a fixed monthly charge, I think I can bring up my Azure calculator in order to show us that. Okay, so here we have the Azure calculator. Now, for this, 1 minute. Okay, so for this Azure calculator under security, you would see the Azure DDoS protection. Now, once you click on that, automatically to be added. So let's get to view. Now, once you view, like I said, it has that standard monthly charge of $29.44, let me approximate, dollars per month. Now, what that does is it covers up to 100 public IP addresses. Protection for additional resources would cost, protection for additional resources will also cost you additional money. And what do I mean? So let's take, for instance, I want to put one additional resources. So what that means is it's going to add, this is 29.4 for almost $30. Okay, so it's going to add to it. Now for the support, you can get either the developer support, standard support, or have a professional direct. And you can, in terms of licensing, I'm sorry, this is just something from the web, but of course, there are usually more licenses than this. Now, you could see we have a total of this, and that's because I have one DDoS that is running. I think I did that while I was playing around the environment, and I added another one. So it gave me a total for the two that I requested and additional charges. And that's why you see it. But what I want us to know in terms of pricing, okay, is that there's a fixed monthly charge for that. And it's what it's based on, you know, this security that is coming on. All right, so that's that about the Azure DDoS protection tiers. I don't know if there's still time on my side, okay? And I don't know if I can get just extra 5 minutes to go ahead to do a demo. Now the demo is pretty simple and straightforward. Now from our Azure portal, we can just create a DDoS protection plan. So just type DDoS, okay, and it lists all the services, DDoS protection plan. Now, once you click on that, I have one running, you can create. When you click on create, it's coming up. Okay, so it gives you the room. So you can choose your subscription. I can say, okay, I want the subscription in the Visual Studio Enterprise, and I want the resource group, Toastmart group. Now, I want to give it a name. So I could say, based on the conference, Nigeria conference, Nigerian conference, DDoS. I know that's long, DDoS plan, but let's just have that. So I can check my region. So I have West Europe. I'll just leave it as the default for the benefit of this demo. Then I click review and create. So this is basically what happens. It tells us validation pass, okay, and we can go ahead to create. If validation doesn't pass, what you have to do is to go back to see, where you have made the mistake or something, and correct that, and it goes. Now we can see that the deployment is complete very fast. Then let's go to resource. Okay, so the resource here, we'll go to protected resource. That is, we want to see, I want to put resource on this DDoS protection plan. So I can say, okay, I want to add a VNet. Here I have the Toastmart VNet. So I click whatever resources within that VNet, it's going to protect all. Then I click add. Now it's going to update. It's as simple as that. I mean, it's as simple as that. Very straightforward. It's something that you do not require any special configuration. You do not require any, net. It's just as simple, as straightforward as that. And the beauty of this is that it's just one plan can cover the entire tenant. So that's the quick demo for this. Like I said, I would not take our time, and that's all. So if you want to learn more, there are so many documentations out there at the Microsoft site that you can read more or learn more about the pricing, as well as more about the DDoS protection. So thank you very much. thank you for, having me. If we have any question, okay, sorry, my time, right? sorry, because of my time. Okay, but I would respond to anyone that comes in the chat because I'll continue the follow-up. So thank you, and thank you for having me.